Welcome back to the channel. This video is directly linked to a video we did exactly 2 weeks ago. 2008 Chevy Cobalt ran out of oil. If you haven't seen that video, I recommend pause right here, watch it, I'll put it in the link right there, and test your skills. See if you can diagnose this vehicle with the limited information provided in that other video. Well, this video will be the teardown. We'll get to see the effects of this engine running out of oil. Oh, and the winner of the grand prize. All right, so just a visual. All these cam lobes look really good. I don't see any scoring or anything wrong with the lobes themselves. Looks like these roller followers or the rocker arms, whichever you want to call them. The surfaces look okay, nothing's scored. So we want to pull off these cam caps and have a peek underneath them. So far I've just pulled off these three. I left that and that just to hold the cam down, and then I'll put these back in and then we'll examine those end ones. I just wanted to show you on the underneath, there is, hard to see because of the glare, a little scoring. It's not ridiculous. So that's that one. Not ridiculous. This one, you could tell maybe those are some heat spots, not quite sure. But the top of the cam doesn't look too bad. You take your fingernail across it and it's not deep gouges. Show this one too. So kind of the same. But the cam lobe, well, let me check. Yeah, I mean there's no gouging. So let me bolt these back on to keep the cam down, and then I'll take these two end ones off and examine. If you notice the color of the caps, they're lighter in this end and then get darker. Maybe, just guessing, these got hotter, or you could tell this engine hasn't really been taken care of anyway, just by the color of things and how it smells in there. But I guess that smell could be the burnt. I mean, if this ran out of oil, then that was some pretty thick sludge. So maybe that's what I'm smelling, but it's pretty pungent. Got the two end ones off. Let's take a look at those. And it's the same. So far they've all looked the same. The top of that cam is no different. Pull this one off. This is what I thought may be the worst, but it's really not as bad as maybe I would have expected. Let's look at the other cam. This is the intake. Take a look at the exhaust. All right, so I took all of them off. I didn't show you because they look exactly the same as these front. So no different. They all look the same. One thing I just wanted to show you though too, which is promising, if you look when I pull out a new one, you see how there's oil underneath it? All those oil spots. So that lets me know that it's being oiled. Now that there is oil in the engine, the oil is making it up here and coating each cap. Every cap had oil underneath it. The cam looks good and they're being oiled. So I think, at least initial inspection, they're okay. This isn't our catastrophic area up here. All right, got all the bolts off. Hopefully this is it for the reveal. Maybe. So upon the best inspection I can do visually and feeling around, like this chain feels good. This chain may be a little loose, but not enough to slap on anything. I believe this is for the water pump. I believe so. You know, it doesn't feel like it's loose. It's hard to tell, you know, bearings or anything inside, if there are any, what their condition is. But as far as just feel, I don't feel anything in the timing chain portion of it. So let's go into the dungeon. Let's pull off the oil pan and see if there's any carnage in there. All right, oil pan is off. I took the connecting rod cap off of this piston, and that crank looks really good. So this one, and then this one over here I took off as well. It looks really good. Again, like the cam, it's not scored or anything, but let me show you one of the caps. So this cap is well, not cap, this is the bearing. So this rod bearing is toast. So I'm going to turn the engine over 180 and pull these two middle ones off, and I'm expecting it to be the same. So far, we have not located our big rattle noise. So I turned the crank 180 and notice cylinder number 3. That's our noise. And if you notice the color, you see, well, those caps aren't on, but you see this cap color. The other 2 that I already took off were like that. Look at this. Dark. So hopefully the crank is still good under here. Yeah, that'll be our ticket, because that would be our noise. This one's nice and tight. That's pretty chewed up. I'm not sure if you could tell, but you see how there's on the 2 ends. Here, let me show you a good one right here. So see how there's channels on the 2 ends? So that's good. But if you notice here, there's a channel and then the channel goes away. So it's worn down that much that the channel no longer exists. And this surface right here would actually be the top. When it's at top dead center, the piston would rest right on here. So during a compression stroke, all the stress of the power, not compression, I mean the power stroke, I guess the compression stroke too, would ride right here on the top. Let me back up, that's kind of close. But it would ride right here on the top. That's why you get all this wear here and less wear here. So if I were to take this out, take a measurement of it, it would be out of round. It would be an oblong. So, looking at a crankshaft, and I'm guessing back in there, the connecting rod also needs to be replaced. So crankshaft and new connecting rod. So this is a decent connecting rod bearing. This one you can see was getting pretty mauled. And then these 2 is what's left that came out of the one that was knocking around. Gonna sneeze. So that took out our crankshaft, and no doubt the connecting rod. So this is what's sitting in the bottom of the oil pan. And that pickup screen is supposed to hold all this stuff back so it doesn't get inside the pump. Yeah, there's a bunch. Oh my goodness. Yeah. All right, we found the source of our knock. Number 3 connecting rod bearing. Chewed up. The crank is no good, so it'll need a new crank. It'll need a new connecting rod and rod bearings. So we want to know, is this engine salvageable? Well, that'll depend on the price of everything. So let me get some prices, and then I'll throw it your way. All right, so let me do all that behind the scenes, looking up stuff, and then I'll let you know. Now, since I recorded the last footage of the teardown and all that, I have been able to measure the connecting rod and the cap bore for out of roundness, and we're okay. So this does not need a connecting rod, which changes things a lot. If it needed a connecting rod, you can't pull the piston down from the bottom. You'd have to pull the head off and push the piston up through the top. A lot more labor. That would have pushed things over. So what are we looking at to get this thing back up and running? Minimum crankshaft, rod bearings, and main bearings. So what does that all add up to? Well, depending on how you can get the parts, the crankshaft we're getting new, about $400. A set of bearings, about $200, little less, and 19 hours of labor. So that puts it at right around $2,000, $2,400, depending on your shop's labor. Now, if you were doing this yourself, you have the confidence to rebuild this engine for $2,400. Like some said, you can put a new engine in or just rebuild this one completely if you're doing it yourself. Now, if you have to pay a shop, again, rebuilding this one that we have, rebuilding the bottom end will be about $2,000. Blue Book is about $3,000. So you're still pushing it. Oh, my arm's getting tired holding the phone up. But so you're kind of pushing it the limit, but it is salvageable. So it's doable. All right, so the contest. Who was the closest? We have some really close ones. Ian. He mentioned rod bearings. He said bearings, the big end bearings, are shot. Sure enough, they were. But he also said the engine needed to be replaced. So half right. Yes, we can replace it, but you can rebuild it as well. So it is salvageable. So good job, Ian, for the diagnosis. It was the main bearings, the big end bearings. Richard Parker, he focused on the top end, talking about the valve train and stuff. He does mention bearings though, and he says it's salvageable. So I think he's the closest. And Mr. Nobody talked about the bottom end, so good job on that. But he also said junk the engine, so not quite. And then Daryl Stave says it's salvageable, but he's talking about rebuilding the top end. So not quite right. It was bottom end and salvageable. We'll give it to Richard Parker. I'll reach out to you privately, get some information, and we will send you the tools. What did he win? A brand spanking new set of ratcheting wrenches with the little flex heads. I don't have them here. We're gonna purchase them and just send them right to his address. Figured that would be the easiest. All right, well, thanks for watching. This was kind of fun for me. First contest I've ever done. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Maybe we'll do something like this in the future. You will definitely be seeing this vehicle on more videos. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. See you on the next one.